Hello, my name is Alexis, and in this video I will try to explain how emotions influence learning. This is part of a theory known as the affective filter hypothesis, published by Dr. Stephen Krashen. As I said before, my name is Alexis Guañuna and I'm a student at Universidad Católica del Ecuador. This is the final work for the subject of psycholinguistics, in charge of Magister Janine Matz. Well, let's get to the point. What is this affective filter? The affective filter is a hypothesis, and it is part of the input hypothesis, which is a series of theories published by Dr. Stephen Krashen, which is this guy. The input hypothesis comprises 5 theories related to language learning. These are the input hypothesis itself, the acquisition learning hypothesis, the monitor hypothesis, the natural order hypothesis, and the affective filter hypothesis, which is what we are going to see in depth just now. So, how does it work? The affective filter works like a gate, which lets or doesn't input in a section of the brain called the language acquisition device. Now, what's input? Well, it is any kind of understandable information in the target language students are exposed to. Now, if this input goes through the filter, is processed in the language acquisition device, and goes through to the next stage, the student will be able to learn. If this input, on the other hand, is not able to go through the barrier, which is the affective filter, there will be no language acquisition. What is the evident goal then? Quite simple, right? The goal is to lower the affective filter. How do we do that? Let's continue to see. If we want to lower the affective filter, we have to take into account some variables, which are the attitude and the motivation, amongst others. About the attitude, Savignon in 1976 said that it is the single most important factor in language learning. So let's see what that is about. The attitude are the reasons students have for learning. This can be pretty diverse actually. They might want to learn because they need the target language for work, study, travel. The teacher should be able to recognize that and use it as an advantage. On the other hand, we have the attitude, which, according to some sources, is more closely related to acquisition than to learning. One study even affirms that it is more critical to learning than aptitude. Attitude being the favorable disposition a student has towards learning a new language, while aptitude, the knowledge students possess beforehand. This study was applied on 7th graders from French schools, and they concluded that measures of attitude were better predictors of a student's future performance than measures of aptitude. That says quite a lot, right? The influence of attitude and motivation can be quite significant in language learning. Motivated students can be willing to spend more time and effort on conscious learning, let alone the unconscious one, right? Also, a higher amount of intake can be admitted into the language acquisition device, of course, as long as the students are motivated and their attitude is optimal. As a conclusion, we can say that work on motivation rather than just on contents is essential for the teacher to reach his or her students. Teachers should take care of motivating and improving a student's attitude towards language learning. The contents shouldn't be neglected, but we have to acknowledge that without these emotional factors, students won't be able to take them. Case of study. In order to back the content of this video, a case of study was taken from Influence of Affective Factors on Learning Ability in Second Language Acquisition by Lin-Yang Wang in 2019. The aim of this study is to explore how the affective factors influence the learning ability in second language acquisition. This study was applied to junior high to postgraduate students from Chinese school, and it was made in the form of a questionnaire. Taken from the study, we have this graphic which shows a diagram of the affective filter and how it works. The questionnaire aimed to evaluate the affective factors, which we find here. These are motivation, attitude, anxiety, empathy, inhibition, and personality. Some source of input, comprehensible input, are also present in this graphic. Like, for example, the one that comes from the teacher, from other classmates, from the classroom itself, like in the environment, on the walls, from the board, projectors, etc., from movies, and from activities that are done inside the classroom. Besides that, acquired knowledge competences are also put in this graphic, which are the capacity of judgment, the capacity of coming up with new ideas, the capacity of communicating, and the capacity of interacting with others. This video, however, focuses on the affective factors, which we're going to explore in the following slide. Motivation. Motivation is the desire and driving force of the learner to learn the second language. It can be very critical for language acquisition. Anxiety. It is the affective experience that describes the tension, anxiety, worry, and self-doubt of learners. Anxiety can be both positive or negative for language learning. It depends on how we manage it. Attitude. The attitude is a personal disposition, feelings, and behaviors towards a particular language. It is how the students feel about learning English. Is their attitude positive, or is it not maybe? The teacher has to work on that too. Inhibition. The inhibition is an act of avoidance and concession taken to protect oneself. It's what the students do when they feel shame or when they're afraid of failing. They just stop participating, and that is not beneficial for language learning. The teacher should work on that too. Empathy. Empathy is the capacity students have to evaluate themselves, people, and things around them in a comprehensive, objective, and fair way. Empathy is very important because learning a language is about interacting with others, and this interaction definitely requires having an awareness of how other people feel. Personality. Personality is definitely related to the effectiveness of foreign language learning. Extroverted and introverted students are very different, and the teacher should try to adapt the class for these two groups of learners that can be conflictive when put together. Conclusions of the study. The researchers found that there were significant differences in the influence of affective factors on the second language ability between different age groups. The affective factors play an active role in stimulating, regulating, maintaining, and directing learners' cognitive activities, directly affecting the speed and effectiveness of foreign language acquisition, and that the affective filter hypothesis has important practical significance for guiding learners' second language acquisition. In the next slide, you can find the list of references that were used to make this work. I hope you liked it, and remember, attitude will always beat aptitude.